buddy. Okay. Am I lagging? Oh god. Am I back? No! 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 Is it back? I didn't even know my stream was dying. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. But the game's so hard, it cuts your connection. Welcome back. I didn't know you guys were gone. Welcome, welcome. Okay. That's stairs. That's stairs? Okay, okay. It was just a second? Ah, I see. Oh, this guy. Oh. It's scary. Okay. Oh, okay. What? He stabbed me through the rock. Okay. So I have to get rid of all the mobs first before I fight him. Look at that guy, the big guy chasing me. Okay, okay, okay. Okay. That was good. That was a, you know, I'm just testing the waters. Okay. Mickery can't. Okay, got it. What's this? Number 13? For this guy. Okay. Oh. Okay. Let's go over here first. No, don't sit there. Okay. We go over here. Is this game a death simulator? For me, yeah. Oh. Okay. Is this guy? This guy? I think you can sneak behind the boss to get a death blow. Okay. How do I sneak behind him though? Oh, it's right there. Oh, he's turning the other way for me already. Okay. Is this possible? Okay. Oh, welcome in. How do you say your name? Imamo. I'm Amo. de hoki. Ohayo gozaimasu! Ohayo gozaimasu! Welcome, welcome! How are you? Is there a name you like to go by? Or is there a name that you like to be called? How is your day? Oh. Don't turn around, don't turn around, don't turn around, don't turn around, don't turn around. Okay! Oh! Oh, whoops. That was good. Hold on, no, that was good. That was good. Ah! Oh my god, hold on. Ah! Thanks, baby. Okay. Just say your name. She can do it. Okay. Welcome in, nobody. Welcome, welcome. Okay. Going to the tower. Is that where you got to Master Kuro? She can do it. I'll get used to it. 114. 114. That's 114. It's okay. It's okay. Okay. Oh shoot! Oh shoot! Oh, it's nothing. Okay. Hyperventilating is a sign of being okay? Yeah, it really is. Okay, what? I will soon become much more better after the stream. It will. Surely, right? Surely. Okay. We're gonna go the same way we went. Okay. So you can jump on the wall from the branch and wall hang, then jump over so it doesn't get alerted. Oh! Oh. Argo! Argo! Oh! Oh! Okay. Oh! Okay. Okay, 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 okay. 150 115. 115. Lucky number 115, right, guys? Lucky number 115. Okay. Lucky number 115. Okay, okay. Lucky number 115. Okay. I just gotta chill, guys. Are you trying to run? I'm confused. Okay. Okay. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. The only shit bright side is you get to play this game for the whole year. You think it's gonna take me the whole year just to play this game, yeah? But what is fine. Probably 2 years. Hi Sam, welcome in Raisin. Welcome, welcome. How are you? How's your day? Oh. Welcome in. Yeah, calm and steady wins the game. Calm and steady wins the game. Calm and steady wins the game. 11 months and 29 days. That's your bet? 11 months. Go over there. Go over there. Doing good. How's stream going? Stream is going good. It's going great. I died multiple times. Maybe too much. Oh, whoops. Please. Oh! Oh no, I was trying to heal! Get up, get up. Ah! What? Okay. Oh. Okay. Okay. Oh my god, why is that Chaz always bullying you? Because they love me so much. They love me so much. 116, okay. Okay. There's no way your death count is only at 15? Wasn't it at 12? Okay, okay. No, 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 no. Thank you for the head pass. Thank you, thank you. Do you want to try the other one? No, since I'm already doing this one, let me stick to this one. I can beat him for sure. Okay. We go quiet. We go quiet. Baka. Baka? No, baka you. I know I could just walk past him. Should I just walk past him? Killing them feels good though. That was good for first try. Yeah, yeah, that was my first try, guys. First try, you know, it was just a warm up. have, you know? Baka sugoi? No, baka baka? No, duet is baka. Do baka. Okay. Oh, he saw me! No, 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 no. No, 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 no! Okay. Okay. Okay, 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 okay. Not fair, not fair! Okay. Oh, okay. Okay, okay. I was ready. I was ready, you know? To be fair, I was reading chat, you know? Right, guys? Right, guys? Okay, okay. 17. This is the one. I got this. This is the one. This is the one. Okay. Okay. I'm ready. I'm mentally ready. Baka? Baka? Oh god. No, go up, Shen! Be quiet, you be quiet. Okay. Just the one. So thank you for the follow. Thank you. 118 counting. Hey, hey, you're one number ahead, okay? You're one number ahead. Okay. No, he's from the future. Base is from the future. He's predicting. Okay, should I wait a little bit? Okay, he's gonna see me in a way. You never saw me the other time. Come on. Oh. Okay. 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 No direction. Stop! Stop moving! Okay. You know what? It's okay. It's fine. It's okay. It's okay. Other times you were lucky and he was trigger ready and walking. Okay. Try it. I need Shen luck again. Is what I'm hearing. Shen luck. Okay. Okay. Get good? No, you have to rely on Shen luck, okay? Shen luck is real. Shen luck real. Oh. No, you don't see nothing. Go back. Nope, you don't see nothing. Okay. said smoke some of that energy from your barn in schedule 1 and come back and you get it first try. You know, you might be right. You might be right. Okay. Shouldn't look real. Shouldn't look real. Oh, I fell. Shouldn't look real. Shouldn't look real. Shouldn't look real. Oh. Oh. Oh, fuck. Okay. Oh. No, leave me alone. Oh, okay. Okay, okay. My god. Jesus Christ. Oh my god. Yeah, the horse guy. The horse guy took me forever. You not gonna lie, how much they took? Took me so long to kill the horse guy. Was it 20? Okay. Okay, I remember leaving at like 26 deaths before you... Okay, I remember feeding the ogre at 29. Okay, we beat the ogre at 29, and then I die a whole lot from the stake. Yep. Oh. Is he gonna move? Don't turn around, 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 don't turn around. Oh. Oh. Oh, okay. 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 Okay, okay. Chill, I can beat him. Chill, mom, chill. Okay, okay. I got this. I got this. I got this. Okay. Gonna try again. Be quiet, you. Be quiet, you. Oh, that's right. I forgot. 819. 819. 819. Okay. Is it actually the? Oh no, wait. No, not 819. 119. I mean 119. Not 819. 119. Did it? Did I forget? Is it actually 120? Here, let me change it. 120. 120. Lucky number 120. Lucky number 120. Okay. Welcome back, Hovey. Welcome, welcome. It's more but 120 to make you feel better. Thank you, thank you. How's the patient? It feels great. It feels really, really good. Really good. Thank you for the shout out. Thank you, thank you. Okay. Nobody?
What? You want something? Probably up here then.
Yeah, no.
Maybe it's in the hallway?
It would be the kitchen. It would be the kitchen.
Oh! Oh! Oh!
He's out there. You can see.
Oh, it closed the
Up,
door.
EMF 2 when it closes the door.
You know it. There are not keys on the door.
Oh,
Where's the?
Oh god! I keep forgetting! Counter it! It's fine. It's okay. Ah! No! No! Oh my god!
Is that better?
So now you're fighting like a man without backstabbing?
Ah, okay.
Hey, he saw me, okay? He saw me and I couldn't, you know, backstab him. Okay. You know, that's okay. That's okay. That's A-okay. That's A-okay. Okay. We try this again. Oh. Oh. No, he saw me! No, they saw me! Oh god. No, 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 don't shoot me. Oh god. Oh god, I don't want to fight you. I don't want to fight you. You know what? We're gonna reset. We're gonna reset. We're gonna reset. 121? 121. Okay. I feel like if I go to bed and come back to Shan's stream tomorrow, she'll still be fighting this boss still. If you read 121 backwards, it's still 121. And Shen like, huh? Yeah, Shen luck is real. Shen luck real, okay? You just gotta put some trust in it, you know? Hmm. Alright, alright. Alright, alright. Alright. Okay. Okay. No, it's not. I don't trust luck. Luck and trickery are two heads of the same coin. Hey, luck is all I have, okay? And skills is non-existent. Luck is what I have. Okay, let's hang. I did. That's why I gambled on 1.2k on Shen. Oh yes, did you really? Oh my god. 1.2 is a lot. Oh, you saw me. You saw me. Okay. Come on. Okay, okay. Oh! Oh! Oh my god! You can go behind him in the tower? Okay. Okay! You know, it's fine, it's okay! Yeah, I'm impatient, okay? I'm impatient! Okay, fine. I'll go behind the tower this time. I swear. I swear. Behind the tower? Talking about the ledge that's like across. There, right? Oh. Whoops. Okay. Shan, I'm pulling for you, but just make sure you finish this game before the next Sekiro comes out, okay? We'll see, we'll see, we'll see. We'll see, we'll see. Oh, he saw me! Okay, I gotta fight him now. Please. Please, I don't wanna fight you. How do I get up there? Okay. Oh! Oh, okay, okay. Oh, hey, look, Tia's like, yeah, I saw the notification. I was gonna, like, raid her. I was just thinking about raiding her. Oh. tiny. Oh my god. Oh my god, it's a perfect chance to ask about it. No, chaos. No. Flash from Spider-Man? I wouldn't want to fight me neither. Oh god. Okay. We're gonna try this again. We're gonna try this again. Chaos. You're terrible. Okay. Oh, I know. Okay. Oh, Lord.
狼よ、お主は言ったな。なすべき寄付。
Okay. Don't turn around. Okay, this is the one. Nope, it is not the one. It is not the one. Hold on, it is not the one. Hold on, there might be the one. Okay. I need you to step away for a little bit, please. Okay. Okay, buddy. Oh. Okay. Okay, whoops. This is okay. This is fine. Oh god. The boss parry's better than Shen, no cap? You know, no cap. That is true though, that is true. Oh my god, parry is so hard for me, guys. I'm not even kidding. Okay. I'm gonna try one more time. One more time. No, you be quiet. Hold on. Let me. My son was my shurikens, right? Gourd.
Have confidence.
Yeah, confidence is key.
No confidence.
No confidence. Do you have V-Sync on? 'Cause it might be adding a little bit to input delay. I think I do. Maybe. No, I have not. I have not seen that clip. Okay. Don't turn around, please. Don't turn around, please. Oh. Oh. Ouch. Ouch. Oh no! Ouch! Oh my god, he's in the house! He's in the house! He's in the house! Yeah, he's in the house! He's in the house! Oh, he's in the house! Okay, okay. Jesus Christ, Jesus Christ. 123. You know what, guys? This is a great spot to end, right? This is a great spot to end. Right, it's 42 minutes, what you mean? It's a great spot to end. Technically, I've been streaming for like 5 hours, guys. 5 hours. My stream broke. Yeah, my stream crashed. Oh my god. Jesus Christ. You know, I need a break. I need a break. Jesus. Game has a little bit input delay because the wolf can perform actions with the speed of light. Also, there may be delay if you're playing with unwired controller and using the frame. I am using unwired. Is that why? It's a Bluetooth. I'm using Bluetooth. Should I do wired instead next time? We don't know that one more. Can't perform. Okay. Just get good. No, you. Anyways, you know, it's been a good almost 5 hours, guys. Technically, I know it says 43 minutes. That's because my stream crashed. But you know, no worries. This shot 15 hours and way past it. Okay, mom, you played this before, okay? You played this before. You can't compare it to me. Alright. Anyways, guys, hold on, we are gonna raid Tia. I think she's playing Marvel Rivals. Is she playing Marvel Rivals? Lady, oh, she's just chatting. Alright. Anyways, it's been a good run, right? Good run. You know, we did some good progress. You know? Have a great rest of your day. Wait, I didn't know Suri does that. What? Oh well. Anyways, good night, bye-bye everyone. Have a good night, good day, good evening. Make sure you lock your doors, lock your windows, lock your closet, cause I'm gonna lurk. I will be streaming tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll be streaming The Walking Dead episode 3, chapter 3. Yes. Anyways, bye-bye everyone. Thank you for all the follows, thank you for the support, thank you for all the other shout outs. Thank you.